What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we're back here for another one. And today I have a very, very special one. Today I have Zac Shomler from Strong Opinion Sports. I mean, I know a lot of the people in the community know who Zac Shomler is, especially in the Dolphins community. If you don't, you need to check him out on YouTube, Strong Opinion Sports, on every major podcast platform. Go check him out, Strong Opinion Sports. Honestly, outside of Dolphins content, he is honestly one of the few guys whose podcast I actually listen to that's not strictly Dolphins. Zac, it's honestly, like I told you before we started doing this, it's an honor to have you. I've been watching you since 2019. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Yeah, no, man, I really appreciate it. You've been really kind to me, and I'm just grateful to talk to you.
And appreciate you for dressing to the occasion. This man has the sharpest shirt you will ever see on YouTube on right now, so appreciate that. So let's just start off. So before we get into everything, can you just give, for those who don't know who you are, could you just give a slight background on your playing experience and et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I excuse me. I played quarterback in college, and I really just love the game. I mean, I don't know about other people, but for me, especially like with everything going on, football is the great escape. And so for me, like making content about sports and talking about sports and focusing on the sports world in general helps me and has helped me through so many hard times. And so I love making content. I love telling stories. I like talking about sports. And one of my favorite types of content to make, I think, is actually like conspiracy theory stuff. Like, I mean, like, hey, could this guy get traded there? What if this happened? Like the what if question's always fun. And I make content. I love it. I try to be as authentic and honest about who I am and what I do. And I try to just be myself, which is, it's hard to do sometimes, believe it or not, but I do my best to put my best forward to be myself on camera.
I think that's what originally drew me to you, was you could tell how open, honest, and authentic you are. I mean, all the listeners know the story, with your brother and how you've opened up, but also how you've tried to turn that into a positive. And in terms of, you try to get everyone, if they, you always take a portion of the show, you dedicate it towards that. And you always try to tell people, if you need help, there's people out there. Like, you're taking your life lessons and you put them onto YouTube, and you're trying to help other people. You're not just giving them sports talk, but you're trying to talk to the person on the other end. You're just not talking to the other people. You know what I mean? Like, you're trying to connect to that person on the other end. And I think that's what really helps you stand out, is just makes you authentic. And to me, it feels like I'm having a conversation with you when I'm listening to you. You know what I mean? And
I mean, that's awesome. I mean, that's what I go for. I try to treat the microphone like a friend. And sports for me have taught me so many life lessons and valuable things I've learned. And so I think there's so many comparisons you can make between Tom Brady and how to watch what he's doing, or literally pick anything in sports. You can learn from it and compare it to you in real life. And you play quarterback as well. I feel like I try to be the quarterback in my everyday life. I mean, I take all the stuff and lessons I learned playing the quarterback position and use them every day. And I truly do that. And the habits I learned there, even though I'm not playing quarterback anymore, they still help me in my everyday life.
Yeah, for sure. So you're a huge Tua guy, if people haven't figured out. Because a lot of people don't realize this, but you actually don't have a one favorite team. You basically like watching everyone. You like watching every player. You just take it all in. And Tua, since Alabama, has always been one of your guys. I believe one of the only NFL jerseys you own is a Tua jersey too. Overall, what have been your early impressions on? I think we're only like 19 20 starts into his career. What have been your early impressions on Tua Tagovailoa, and what have been your takeaways on his career so far?
I want to start by saying three things, and we'll break them down if that's okay. Yep. Number one, I as a human being, I love Tua. Like, I don't know how. Say what you want about him on the field. I don't know how anyone can look at who he is, what he does, his family. Like, he's clearly like an awesome dude, and I root for people, not teams. Like, I saw a great meme the other day that said, like, it was a girl making fun of guys saying, like, guys pick their favorite team at 11 years old and let it ruin their life for the rest of their life. And I'm really glad to not have a favorite team. I don't have the sadness of watching people lose. I get sad when I watch people I like lose, and coaches and players. And Tua is a person I really like. And as a football player, I think he's clearly getting better. They've won 5 games in a row with him starting. I think he's like testing the waters a little bit and starting to, what if I throw a back shoulder fade here? What if I do this? And I think we saw he was learning. He gave a great quote at some point. I don't remember where it came from. He said, I'm learning how to, before I learn how to win a game, I got to learn how to not lose a game. And you saw him, like, people make fun of him throwing like 5-yard passes. Like, what did Dak Prescott do? What did Mac Jones do? What did Tom Brady do for years? Like, I don't know why that's bad. As long as you can, when the defense gives you a look to throw the ball downfield, you're fine. And you've seen him dabbling and experimenting as the year has gone on and trying different stuff. And I thought it bit him in the rear a little bit in the last game where he threw 2 picks. But I think overall, he's just gotten better every time I watched him. So that's great. The one thing I will say, and this is it's not fair to Tua. Let's be clear about that first. But when you compare him to Justin Herbert, it's not fair. Like, Justin Herbert's a way better quarterback, and I don't know. It's also because their styles are so different. Herbert plays he's clearly, just let's be honest, a bigger, better athlete with a stronger arm. He's capable of more. He's like if you created a Madden quarterback.
Yeah.
Where Tua is going to rely on being like Justin Herbert can make the wrong read and still make the play work by running around and making something happen. And I totally understand Dolphin fans who are upset they didn't get Justin Herbert. But Drew Brees couldn't do a lot of the stuff that Justin Herbert can do either. And Drew Brees was an amazing quarterback and a Hall of Famer. So there's no reason, even though the skill set is different, there's no reason Tua can't succeed as well. But I do agree. And a lot of people complain about Herbert. And I just don't think you can compare them. It doesn't do any, it certainly doesn't help Tua. And there's just things that Justin can do that Tua can't, but it doesn't mean he can't be a good quarterback.
Yeah, I think there are 2 totally different situations. I mean, we got Waddle this year, but we
look at what Herbert has around him. It's oh my gosh, he got a better offensive line. He's got one of the best offensive lines in football.
Yeah,
and 2 great receivers, a great tight end. It's like
good run game with Eckler.
It's definitely unfair.
Yeah, he's got a good run game with Eckler. And I said to people last year, like, okay, there's no denying his athleticism and everything like that. But first of all, if you watch the Oregon film, I got people who were like, I had him as the 3rd best player in the draft. And, I didn't have him, but people telling me, I had him 3rd best player in the draft. And even I didn't expect this leap right away. I mean, Pep Hamilton, people forget Pep Hamilton is what you would actually kind of consider a quarterback whisperer. I mean, go look at what he did with Luck at Stanford. Then when he came to Indianapolis, under him, they became a top 5 offense in the NFL. Like, he's actually a legit quarterback whisperer that I don't think people talk about enough. And Anthony Lynn, offensive-minded coach. I think they're just asked to do different things. And, but hey, Herbert still has it. You take away the seams, you take away the deep threat, you push him towards the sidelines. Herbert will struggle. Herbert still has his issues right now because these kids they're all kids and they're all young. Like, we're in sample sizes where these guys are getting into like 20 some odd games of their career, right?
Yeah, I would hesitate. The one thing I would say is that I think everybody would rather have Justin Herbert than Tua, as much as I love Tua. And I think that's just because we've all agreed collectively, hey, Herbert has it. And a lot of people, I'm sold on Tua, but most people are still waiting to see if Tua is going to work out. And unfortunately for Tua, a lot of the stuff that's going to depend on him succeeding in the NFL is he needs a better offensive line. He needs better receivers, stuff that Justin Herbert already has. And so I'm just kind of waiting and hoping that Miami builds around him because can we talk? I want to jump into Deshaun Watson, that whole trade idea.
Yeah.
I don't know how to comment on the stuff off the field. I don't know that I'd really want a guy like that in my locker room, but it's who knows, right? I don't know about all that stuff. What I do know is that the cost of trading for Deshaun Watson is probably going to be unreasonable. Mm-hmm. And what is unreasonable when you are getting a really talented quarterback? Because say what you want about Deshaun off the field, he's a great quarterback. But Miami, I don't think can afford to trade any more big pieces. Like, they're already, I think, rebuilding a lot of parts of their football team. So giving up even more and then having it rebuild further, it's like, what are we doing, guys? Why don't we use what we have, and we, meaning that Miami, and continue to build around Tua, where you have progress, you have a quarterback who's bought in, and their hesitance to buy into Tua is kind of frustrating to me. I would think that's changed in the last 5 games, but I wonder what's going to happen this offseason. And if it's not Tua in Miami, is Tua going to go somewhere else? Do other people want him? I don't know. But I have no doubt that Tua would do much better on a better football team with a better offensive line and better weapons around him.
You put him in San Francisco and watch the kid just feast.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, like, so for those that don't know, Zach used to do a lot of film study on his channel. It's going to be coming back. He was telling me in February, and I remember you talking about how, back in the day, how you had actual like college teams and NFL teams hitting you up to like do evaluations on players that they wanted, et cetera, et cetera. So, what my whole point is, you've been involved in that evaluation process
Yeah.
at that level. Okay, my whole thing is, so what I've heard privately is they are going to circle back on the Deshaun Watson. And I heard they made that decision before he even started playing well. And my whole thing is, this is where I come in. Coaching staff, management, Greer, scouting department, Flores, whomever. You are doing not only this kid, but you are doing most of all the organization a disservice if you are not properly evaluating him and you are putting all your eggs in that Deshaun Watson basket. Because if you end up not getting him, whether he gets indicted in January or you get caught playing patty cake sitting on your hands and another team swoops in and they take him and they make the trade for him, now, how does you got to start feeling for the player in some situation of, okay, you've had to deal with these rumors for, if you lead up to the deadline, right? We were dealing from it last January up until the deadline this year. They go away. The whole team, not just two, the whole team finds a new gear, a new level, start playing better. And then now, if you were to go and reignite these and stop it, I mean, man, if I'm Galu, if I'm to his father, I'm saying, you know what? Go play, put your head down, go back to work. And when contract time comes, we'll see what this is really about, because they are, it's like, I don't know, man. I said to someone, I said, listen, if I was going to reignite this Watson talk, if I'm Flores or if I'm Greer and I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's circle around. I would have a meeting with myself, Greer, and Ross, and I would make sure nothing leaves the room, because if you're reigniting that, you can't let that media circus happen again. It's got to be quietly done behind the scenes, because if it falls through, Tua's gonna be dealing with the same nonsense of, oh, they don't believe in him. You're only here because they couldn't trade for Watson. La 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 la. And you know as well as I do, people think it's just about throwing the football. The quarterback position is about confidence. You need to be like, you need to think you can do whatever you want to do on that field, and your confidence needs to be at all-time high. And what I think enough people aren't paying attention to is they're affecting this kid's long-term confidence. What do you think about that?
I think it's almost been an impossible situation for him to do well, and yet he's still done well. I mean, I don't know how. Imagine if you're this is a rough analogy, but imagine you're dating a girl, and all she's doing is talking about how she wants this other guy. How are you supposed to feel good about what you got going on? How are you supposed to, like, that's brutal. And Tua, in a situation similar to that, it's not perfect. You don't really trade people in relationships, that kind of stuff. But you know, but I just can't imagine how hard it would be to perform under the pressure of, hey, my team doesn't want me. And unfortunately, it feels like for Tua, every good thing he's done in the last 5 games is just making him a better trade piece. Like, all he's doing is helping that trade happen more. It's like, I don't like that at all. And what's even weirder is, does Houston want him? Like, we assume they do, but what if they don't? The thing is, there's so many quarterbacks available right now in the NFL. I mean, everywhere. And I love Tua, but he's going to need help. And he's got a limited arm, and he's not. I think 10 years ago would have been a much more coveted quarterback than he is today, based on his skill set. He's got a skill set, I think, akin to Drew Brees, where he's not going to run around. He needs to be very accurate, very precise. And it's going to take time for him to, like, Drew Brees mastered the NFL. And only then, like, he got traded from his first team, San Diego, the Chargers. Like, they didn't want him because it took him a while to develop. And I fear that we're going to see something similar happen with Tua, but where's he going to go if not Houston? Like, who needs a quarterback? Pittsburgh, Denver,
New
maybe
Orleans.
New York, Seattle,
New
maybe.
Orleans.
I could see him in Seattle. That'd be interesting. New Orleans, maybe, but they got Jameis. I think they're happy with that. I think one thing we're not asking enough is, if not Miami or Houston, where could he go? Because I don't know. And who wants him? And I think Denver could use a quarterback. I don't think Tua fits very well in Denver, just as far as weather and arm strength wise. So I'm very interested. Houston's a terrible spot for him. They don't have help for him there either.
Yeah.
He needs a team around him. Like by the way, like every quarterback needs.
Yeah,
Tom Brady,
exactly.
I think the greatest quarterback of all time, went to Tampa because he wasn't getting help in New England. And now in Tampa, before injuries, he had a stacked roster all around him.
Mm-hmm.
So every quarterback, don't ever give me he's only good if he gets help. No, every quarterback needs help. Dak Prescott, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. Who's Patrick Mahomes without Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce? Let's be real about it. So, yes, he needs help. Unfortunately, that help is not in Houston, and that makes me very concerned.
I mean, yeah, look at Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. If that didn't show everyone how much an offensive line matters, even for an elite quarterback, I mean, I don't know what else to tell them. I mean, I tell people all the time, if Deshaun Watson didn't need an offensive line, why did they trade us all that draft capital for Laramie Tunsil? I know they lost Dwayne Brown, but Tunsil had a higher ceiling than Dwayne Brown because they thought they were going to get a top 3, top 5 left tackle when it was all said and done in the NFL. That's why they gave up. If they didn't, because they realized, hey, with a bottom 15 line, okay, Watson can get us to the first or second round, but with a top 15 line, Watson might be able to take us even further down the road. You talked about how impressive it is that Tua has been able to kind of block out the noise and still play the way he has, and I agree with you 110%. And we talked about the lack of, personnel around him. Are you impressed with how effectively he's ran the RPO with absolutely zero running game? I mean, you look at the Giants game, I know we just had a big game rushing the football with Duke Johnson, but prior to that, you look at the Giants game, we ran for like 52 yards. I mean, because I said to someone, and I'll say this to you, have you ever seen this on the high school, college, or NFL level? A predominantly RPO-based offense with no running game? I don't think I've ever seen this before.
No, I think what I think of when you ask that question roughly is I think of a couple of quarterbacks recently have entered the transfer portal that have reached out to me and said, hey, where do you think I should go? Like, they know I watch a ton of film and they're just bouncing ideas off of me. And I always tell them, go somewhere that runs the ball well. And if you can, get a great defense too. But man, it's so undervalued. For example, in college, the University of Utah and the University of Iowa, and I throw Wisconsin in there too, are 3 universities that run the ball incredibly well. Mm-hmm. And all that does as a quarterback is make your job so much easier. Everything's easier. Tua doesn't have that either. And I'm like, I just feel bad for the guy. It really, and it's I'm blanking on the name right now. The kid out of Oregon, who's the running back in Miami, it's the kid not out of Oregon, out of Washington.
Myles Gaskin.
Myles Gaskin. Yeah, I love watching him in college. Sorry, I'm blanking on the name.
Yeah, I think he's awesome in college. Yeah.
The problem is the offensive line. If you're transferring, for anyone listening, do not go to a school that has a bad offensive line. Watch the Super Bowl last year. Watch Tua. Watch anything. It's miserable. I had a bad offensive line in high school for a year. It's horrible. You can't do anything. It really impacts your ability to succeed as a quarterback. And for some reason, our world gets so excited about, receivers, a quarterback who can run. I'm like, hey, what about the boring part of football, which is really important? Linemen. On the offensive and defensive line, that wins you football games. I mean, if I was building a football team, the first thing I would do is invest in my offensive and defensive line, then figure out a quarterback, because my quarterback can't succeed without an offensive line. I don't care who your rookie is. If he has no one blocking for him, he's donezo. It's not going to work. So I just feel bad for Tua. I really look at what they got going on. I'm like, oh man, it's brutal what's got going on.
The old adage, games are won and lost in the trenches, right? I mean,
it's boring, but true.
It's true. It's true. You know what I mean? Why do you think the Patriots are so successful still without Brady? They win in the trenches. I mean, they beat the Bills by the offensive line and the running game complementing their defense. They didn't even have to ask massive. People say, "Oh, just the running game." No. The offensive line complemented their defense, and the Miami Dolphins can't get one of those units to complement our defense right now. Okay, so I get everyone has the issue with Tua. I know you saw Tuscaloosa Tua is what we call him around here. I know you've probably dealt with injuries, whether little ones or major ones growing up. The rule of thumb is it usually takes about a year and a half, 2 years to start getting normal back from an ACL. You've watched Tua in Alabama. You watched him now.
I remember, if I may,
Go ahead.
I think I can
Go ahead.
I think I can answer already.
Yeah.
I remember watching his very first game when he won the national championship against Georgia.
Yep.
And I was like, this kid's Russell Wilson. This kid moves incredibly well. I remember him reversing field, throwing ball down, like doing crazy stuff, evading sacks. And you're like,
yep.
Oh, this kid can move. And then he got hurt in college, and you haven't seen it since, until I thought the very first time we saw maybe a glimmer of Tua really moving the way he used to in college was actually the last game. Threw 2 picks, 2 touchdowns, but he was, I think, running around a lot more than I've seen in a long time. And it's mobility. It's not just speed and quickness. That'll come back with time, I think, especially if you do certain types of training. But it's within short bursts and areas and agility. I mean, I think it's taken him a while. He looked stiff. He looked slow. He looked, I think I would be nervous to plant on stuff if I were him based on that injury. And so I think he's just getting better, and it takes time and patience. And I have a hard time believing people are just injury prone. I don't really understand what that means. Like, I don't know that. I think taller people, a guy like built like Carson Wentz, who you're actually, I think, more at risk, like your knees and your joints have more strain on them. But other than that, like the idea of injury prone, I don't think makes sense to me. And then you look at, well, Tua's played through some brutal injuries even this year. And I think he had like literally cracked ribs.
Yeah,
I think
fractured ribs. Yeah.
So I dare anyone try playing even flag football with cracked ribs, let alone tackle football against NFL players that are 300 pounds and just crushing you when they land on you. I literally don't think I could play flag football with cracked ribs. So I just think it's incredible. And no one talks about the resilience it takes for Tua. And he's been resilient so many times in his career, whether it's, getting hurt in college and there's no pro days. Remember when COVID happened and there was literally no way for him to do a workout for NFL teams? And he's like, I'm going to make this happen. And he did a workout with Trent Dilfer. Or he had cracked ribs and he got to play through that. Or his team flat out didn't want him. And he's like, I'm just going to do what I do, which is play football. I do the very best I can. And it's working. I just think the resilience of Tua and his toughness actually never gets talked about because we get so, he got hurt once in college. It's a freak, horrible injury. And it could have happened to anyone. Yeah. Unfortunately, it happened to Tua.
And look at how quickly in college he would return from the tightrope surgeries, right? And they weren't even necessary. They were Alabama just does them to prevent future sprains and strains to your ankles, right? We talked about the running game. I wanted to hop back for that for a sec. I just want to get your thoughts on this because this is what I tell people. You remember Tua's final year at Alabama, that LSU game? Everyone was, Burrow versus Tua. Everyone was hyped up for it. I tell everyone, that game to me shows you the formula of how to use Tua. You look at the first half, Saban put the offense on Tua's shoulders. He had that early fumble where he lost grip on the football. They were kind of, they're just keeping their head above water. And then in the second half, what happened? They sent Najee out there and they said, okay, now we're going to run the ball. We're going to predicate the pass off the run game. And then what happened? Tua, I don't care what anyone tells me, Derek Stingley was the best quarterback in football that year as a freshman. Don't care what anyone tells me. And Tua was and you know how it is. When I evaluate prospects coming out, the throws that really matter to me are the throws outside the numbers. I call them big boy throws. Okay, those are the throws that start mattering to me. All right, I look at some of those as I can translate those to the NFL level. Right, and anyways, so Tua was beating Stingley outside the numbers. He was, Jerry Jeudy doesn't drop that bomb, they probably win the game in the end, right? So you really saw Tua. You saw a totally different Tua in that second half when he had a run game to work with. And do you think he can still be that effective if he has a consistent run game at the NFL level, that you'll see him more willing to take the open shots? Because right now they're just sending 3 or 4 and they're dropping everyone back and they're sitting on the flats because you got Gesicki on those little quick outs in the flats. They're sitting on the flats. They're starting to just sit on top of routes because of what we're running. Do you think a running game, a consistent running game, not a one-game running game, but a consistent running game will totally open up to his game as well at this level?
Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is, safeties have no reason to play the run at all. They're like we're not sold at like play action fakes. They're like, you're not running the ball. We don't care. And The thing with Tua, like in college, he had lots of opportunities vertically. Guys were open. Guys he had one-on-one coverage, and guys were beat people by a step. When does that happen in Miami? Like when has he had any actual opportunities vertically to throw?
Yeah.
I just think that a lot of it, the blueprint for me for Tua is just look at what Drew Brees did. I would love for Tua to, it's difficult, but it would help him literally download a Drew Brees highlight video or even just full on film, then flip it in some kind of like download iMovie Tua, flip it. So you're watching him. Basically, Drew Brees would become a left-handed quarterback on film and copy that. His mechanics could be slightly better, which would get a lot more drive out of how he throws the football. He could throw with more velocity downfield. And I don't mean distance. I mean, driving a ball, but people might not know, like, hey, when you throw a comeback, it shouldn't have any arc. It should be like on a line. And he's capable of that if he gets more out of his mechanics. And then B, like, he doesn't need to be launching the ball every play. He needs 1 to 2, maybe 3 big time passes downfield that keeps people honest.
Yeah.
That's what Drew Brees did. Drew Brees wasn't launching it vertically. He's like, hey, the one time you play cover 0, I got to beat you over the top. And then you'll learn, until once you beat what they're doing, they're going to stop doing it and give you the stuff underneath again. We don't need Tua to launch it all over the field. We need him to take what the defense gives him until he has to throw it vertically, but then he has to deliver vertically. Unfortunately, Miami isn't really capable of that. Like Jaylen Waddle's a great vertical threat. I think I love when he runs like a crosser or like a sail route kind of thing, but a lot of the time they got nothing open. Like I've seen him throw fades to Mike Gesicki, a tight end, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? No offense to Mike Gesicki, that's not exactly like the sideline burner I'm trying to throw a fade route to. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, like that, clearly Miami's got problems because their best vertical threat right now is Mike Gesicki. I'm like, oh my God, it's horrible. So,
it's so true. And I don't know if I know you watched Tua, but since that Ravens game, Mike Gesicki has been a disaster. All right, so.
Well, I think the best thing, if I may, for Tua, draft either a tight end or a bigger outside wide receiver. I think if they got a TJ Hawkinson or a Noah Fant would be great, or someone to complement. You can put Jaylen Waddle in the slot and someone to complement Jaylen Waddle on the outside. I think a tight end that would be the best thing you could get. Like I know they love their tight ends. He used a ton of tight ends in Miami. I think a really great Kyle. Like imagine if they had Kyle Pitts. What would happen there in Miami? It would be amazing. And I want them. I really, really want them to draft some kind of, and it could be a second round receiver. Like you can get a lot of talent in the second round from the receiver position. I would be very happy to draft an offensive lineman in the first round, but some kind of receiving weapon in the second round is what I want for Miami in the draft. And I'm begging them to do that.
I really like Drake London out of USC, and because of his injury, he might fall to the second round.
Yeah.
And what is he like 6'3"? He's like 215. Like he's one of the few guys that's like over 6 foot and actually has a frame to go with it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, my buddy played with him and like he just would throw it up to Drake London, and Drake London would make all kinds of crazy catches. And I watched my buddy threw a touchdown pass. I forget who it was against, but like there was a throw to Drake London between 3 defenders. He just puts it up. Drake London's hands go up above it. He grabs it for a touchdown. And you're like, it's amazing what Drake London can do.
Is your buddy Slovis?
Yeah.
Attaboy.
I don't want to name drop. I don't.
No. I wondered because I just saw him commit to Pitt. So
I'm really excited about that.
Yeah,
it'll be
hopefully
awesome.
He'll do good. I think he's
going to a team with a good offensive line. They're bringing all their linemen back. They get a great receiving core. They bring out the Blinkendoff winner, however you say that, award winner. They need a new offensive coordinator, but I think that actually helps because it sounds. I'm not gonna say anymore. I'm just excited. I'm very excited about what's gonna happen there. So I'm gonna follow Pitt very closely and watch every game and cover every game they have next year.
Yeah. What's that? I was surprised that he. What's his name again? He won it over Jameson Williams, and I was shocked. The receiver from Pitt.
I'm blanking on the name right now. Yeah, I'm like, it's weird. I'm horrible with names. One time I was recording a podcast and I forgot by myself, and I was like, John. I'm like, what's his name? I'm like, Denver Broncos quarterback, won back-to-back Super Bowls. He's their VP of operations. What's his name? Oh, John Elway. Like I couldn't remember John Elway's name for like 30 minutes. I'm like, what is wrong with me? So I'm like the worst at names of all time. I forget my own name sometimes.
Jordan Addison.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah,
he's got an Instagram. It's funny, on Instagram he goes by just JA. It's like hard to find him actually on Instagram. You find his like fan account before you find him.
That's awesome. Yo, honestly, I think I was expecting big things from Slovis. I think that kid's super, super talented.
He's awesome. Great guy too. Like really, really good person.
That's you know what? Like I say this too. Whether Deshaun Watson becomes a Dolphin or not, I'm the type of guy where I just like watching fun players. You know what I mean? And if he's not guilty of everything, if he's innocent of everything, I hope it doesn't affect his career. You know what I mean? Because, if he's innocent now, if he's guilty, I mean, throw the book at him. But if he's innocent, I hope it doesn't affect his career because football fans deserve to see the best of the best. That's how I look at it. Speaking of another Cali quarterback, Josh Rosen. I remember when you did the videos because shout out to my buddy. He used to be my co-host on the show. He still comes on every now and then, but he's busy with his real life job. EM Dolphin fan. Now a little backstory. We joined the YouTube Dolphin community in 2019, and we were the two guys that were like, Josh Rosen is not it. Okay. We gotta get Tua Tagovailoa. And I was out on Josh Rosen after shoulder surgery. We talked earlier about Herbert, right? You said, Herbert can afford to make bad reads. He can run around or whatever. The other thing Herbert could do that a guy like Tua can't do is he can make a late read, but still make the throw because of his arm strength.
Yeah.
Tua can't do that, right? And Rosen used to do that. And I feel like after that shoulder surgery, he lost a little bit of that zip of the ball, but he still had the bad habit of if it's a late read, I can fit it in that window. And you saw it happen to him at the NFL level. But I know you watch how the fan base defends Tua. I remember how shocked you were at how people came at you over and you weren't wrong. You were 110. We were all right about Rosen because, I mean, let's be honest, right? Do you think the fans are even more rabid for Tua Tagovailoa than they were for Rosen? Because surprisingly, they were pretty rabid for Rosen, a guy who really didn't earn how rabid they were for him.
Remember, people supported Mitch Trubisky. People supported Blake Bortles. I think it's pretty clear in Chicago, right? There's a lot of problems beyond what Mitchell Trubisky did wrong.
Okay.
Matt Nagy has all kinds of problems. Ryan Pace is a horrible GM. But I watched film of Mitchell Trubisky. Oh, my goodness. The amount of missed opportunities. The amount of guys vertical where, hey, he beat a man by a step and Trubisky looks at him and doesn't pull the trigger and throws like a swing route for 2 yards. And you're like, dude, that's your 45-yard gain. What are you doing? Yeah. Or like he literally, I would watch Trubisky film sometimes, and he would have people open in the end zone and look at them and not throw them the football. And I'm like, what do I live in an alternate reality? What's happening here? So yeah, like the fact that people defended Trubisky, and by the way, it can be true that Trubisky was bad and Matt Nagy was bad. Okay, one being bad, so we're learning Matt Nagy was bad doesn't mean Trubisky was suddenly good. Like, let's not revise history here.
Yeah.
People defend quarterbacks all the time for unrealistic and unreasonable reasons because I think, and I'm not mad at people. I probably sound angry. I get really like, I think people have to tell themselves the story that makes them feel comforted. You want to believe the quarterback on your football team is your franchise quarterback. So when people are mean to me online, because I crap all over their dreams, I feel bad because I understand where they're coming from. They want to believe the guy on their team is the right guy, which is totally understandable. Like, if I was a fan of Carolina, I would be like, please let me believe that Sam Darnold is my franchise quarterback.
Yeah. I
don't believe that. I'm realistic, but I understand people that want that to happen, right? The guy on your team you want to work, and you want your team to be good. So I try not to hold a grudge, even if it is like totally unreasonable that people support people the way they do. I don't think the support for Tua is wrong, though. I think that part of why people are so like ravenous to support Tua is because I think they're kind of right. Like they're like, hey, let's not bail on the guy before we at least give him a legit shot to work. They pulled him out of games all the time with Ryan Fitzpatrick. He hasn't ever had a great offensive line. He's never really had a great receiving core, and we're going to bail on him already after 2 years. It's just kind of weird. And so I totally understand where people are coming from, and I don't think they're wrong. Plus, also, let's be clear. Like, I don't know how I can say this, and I feel like I'm rambling now, but I live in Hawaii. I live in Honolulu. Hawaiians stick together, man. Like they are going to support their guy and their ride or die forever. Marcus Mariota hasn't started an NFL game in like forever. And he's got a massive fan base. I see him in commercials all the time here because Hawaiians stick together. Oh, yeah. No, he's in like 4 local commercials here. Like, and he's not even an NFL quarterback that starts anymore. And yet you still see Marcus Mariota everywhere. So part of that's he's got a great booking agent. Part of that is because Hawaiians support Hawaiians, man. And don't mess with them. Like they will gang up and let you know. And I don't think that's wrong to say. I think it's actually positive about their, about the community is that if you're from Hawaii, man, like Hawaiian people will have your back forever. Like look at the kid he's from Mililani High School. The quarterback at Florida State, he broke his leg. Went to Mackenzie Milton, right? Yeah, people supported Mackenzie Milton for years. They love the guy because he's from Hawaii. And I think that's awesome. I see more Tua and Marcus Mariota jerseys here than anything. And there's real support like that. And so I think that's part of why the support for Tua is so strong is that community really supports him as well.
Yeah, I did notice after we drafted him, the influx of the Samoan community was huge. I mean,
I love it. And my favorite people, by the way. Like they're in awesome. College, all my best friends. Like I love the culture. I'm unfortunately not Samoan, but I wish I was.
Dude, I had one of his cousins hit me up probably about 4 months ago, right when the season was about to start. And I guess he watches my channel and he was like, thank you for always supporting him, blah, 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 blah. They're so humble and kind. And like, if you're loyal or supportive of them, like they're like supremely over appreciative of you. And it was just really cool to know that like one of Tua's family members watches me and knows I support him. And then I became friends with his trainer, and his trainer specifically asked him, he's like, hey, this guy reached out to me, can I go on the show? And Tua said, yeah, go on the show, no problem.
Have you ever heard the term weeb?
No, I have not heard that term.
It means you're like an American person who's not Japanese, who like loves Japanese culture and like kind of wishes you were Japanese. Like they read anime, they speak the language, you love the food, right? I'm not a weeb. Whatever that word would be for like Samoan culture, like that's me. I love the food, I love the people. I wish I was. I wish I was Samoan. I'm not, unfortunately. But I never can be, which kind of breaks my heart a little bit. But I have such reverence and respect. A lot of my best friends are Samoan and going all the way back to high school and college. And I've never felt more welcomed by any group of people than people in the Samoan culture. And that, bleeds into Hawaii, but oh my gosh, that's part of why I love Tua. I love his family. I love what they put out. I love who they are. And I just really, I think it'd be wrong to deny that. I'm a little bit uncomfortable. I've never talked about that before, but I really do. Like, I love Hawaiian and Samoan culture. They're not the same. They are separate, but in many ways they bleed in and have a lot of the same values. And I just I love it.
I'm actually a weeb by your definition because I love anime. I love Japanese wrestling and I love their food.
There you go.
So
I'm Hawaiian food. Oh my God.
I'm so jealous of you. Ever. Hawaiian, the sweet rolls. Oh my God. The bread. So good.
I think in Honolulu, we have the best food in the country, like period. And I've been to New York, been to LA, great food there too. But if I'm going out to eat, it's here. I really like, oh my gosh, I love the food in Hawaii.
You're living the dream, man.
I'm really happy.
A lot of people want to go there just for their honeymoon destination. You're like legitimately living the dream. What's your opinion? Because I know you obviously watched him just by watching quarterbacks come through Alabama. What's your thoughts on Jaylen Waddle so far? He's got 86 receptions. He's 15 away from breaking Anquan Bolden's rookie record. He's got 849 yards, meaning he's only about 34 yards away from beating Chris Chambers' Miami Dolphins rookie yardage record. You look at with Brissett, he was averaging about 45 and a half yards per game. So he's averaging 42 and a half yards per game receiving. With Tua, he's averaging 75.4 yards per game receiving. I know we talked about weapons and everything like that. Do you think they at least got the Jaylen Waddle edition right?
Oh yeah. Jaylen Waddle's awesome. And at a point he was like tied for the second most receptions in the NFL. Like no one's going to beat Cooper Kupp, but oh my gosh. Yeah. It sucks because he missed the last game. So his numbers could have been even better than whatever they're going to end up as. But he clearly is a home run. And a lot of people love, like Jamar Chase has been great. Kyle Pitts has been amazing. But I think we kind of forget about Jaylen Waddle and how impactful he's been for his team and how many catches he makes. And I think he's going to shatter, all kinds of rookie records. And I'm thankful that I remember he was hurt in college, and I was a little bit like, oh no, could that be a problem? And it hasn't been a problem at all. And I saw a great, he was talking about how he's going to go to Tua's house for Christmas. He's like, and I'm not even, he's like, Tua doesn't even know this shit, but I'm going to come. Right. And I love that. Like, that's awesome. And I think he's a great fit for them. I think he's a great fit with Tua. I think he's awesome. And, I don't have much more to add than he's just like, the best thing you can do with him is just crossing routes. Like, oh my gosh, he try to cover him from the slot across the field, and you're not going to. It's just beautiful. And I think I would just be like, you're running sail routes all day. Mm-hmm. I love watching him play.
I think his route running ability and stuff, and how they should use him, reminds me of how the Bucs use Antonio Brown when he's healthy. Like, I think that's the blueprint. Use him like how they use Antonio Brown over there. Move him to the boundary, move him in the slot, just move him around, motion him so you can get the release off the line of scrimmage. Sticking with the AFC East, your initial thoughts on Mac Jones's first season as a professional. Now, I personally was not a fan of him coming out of the draft. He's exceeded my expectations, that's for sure. Yeah. I don't think he should be rookie of the year, though. I'm against that.
Offensive rookie of the year or just rookie of the year?
Offensive rookie of the year. I honestly think I think Kyle Pitts is breaking tight end records. I think I'll say it. Jamar Chase's first half of the season was incredible, but he's kind of started slowing it down. They've taken away the tops, the big stuff away from them. I actually think it should probably be Rashawn Slater. I think Rashawn Slater has been, and I was a huge Penei Sewell guy. Don't get me wrong. I thought he was, and Sewell's coming on now. You see, Sewell's becoming dominant right now. He's starting ever since he got into it with Aaron Donald. He's just found a next level. But I think Rashawn Slater should be. I think he's been arguably the best. The best offensive lineman in this draft, and I think he's arguably the best offensive player in the draft. And the help he's given, the cherry on top, he's been to that rebuilt offensive line when they brought in Filer, Corey Linsley, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, he's up there for maybe the best tackle in football.
Yeah.
He's in the conversation. He's not. Right? He's in the conversation. He's been dominating. Yeah. So I think you're right. I mean, also, it's hard. Can you imagine going from college to suddenly playing NFL players and still dominating? Like, I think you're totally right. I hadn't thought of Rashawn Slater because he's not a sexy position. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take that into consideration when I do my awards at the end of the year. I'm probably going to, now that I think about it, like, who is really the best rookie? Yeah. Because it's hard to measure stats for an offensive lineman, but who really has been the best rookie? It is Rashawn Slater on offense. You're totally right. Yeah. That's crazy. That's wild. I never even thought about that. Like, oh my gosh, wait. Yeah, lineman.
Yeah. I got to give props to the lineman, man. But what have you thought about Mac Jones so far? Are you liking what you're seeing over there?
Yeah. So the best quarterback in that division, the AFC East, is Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. But there have been a couple times this year where I thought he was outshined by Mac Jones. I really think it's been incredible what Mac Jones has done. Now, it's a less impressive when you realize, he's got an incredible team around him, right? He's got a ton of help. Like, when you compare him to Zach Wilson, it's not even funny. I just feel bad for Zach Wilson. But what Mac Jones has done is been really patient, really accurate, and said, like, I'm not going to lose this a game. And he's been really. And then I even thought, who they played the other day where they, they lost. Who did the Patriots play the other day?
Oh, this past weekend?
Yeah, so some big game. I think the Colts game. I remember now. He had a bad start to the year or to the game. And then really came alive in the fourth quarter and made big time throws. And Mac Jones is, I think, easily the second best quarterback in that division. And at times is really pushing Josh Allen from behind because Josh Allen makes some boneheaded throws that I can't believe that Mac Jones is a rookie. I expected him to do well. I really believed in him in the NFL. I wanted him to go to San Francisco. I was really excited about that possibility because I'm like, he'll get a lot of help. He's getting more help than I would have thought in New England. And I mean, if they'd given Tom Brady the support they gave Mac Jones, they might have kept Tom Brady. It's really cool to see. And I think Mac Jones he has not played like a rookie. And the way he fits into that culture, his yes sir attitude, I think he does literally whatever Belichick tells him. There's a great moment where they're walking on the field and Belichick like grabs his arm and pulls him away. And I think what that does is tell you that he's just submitted to, whatever Belichick wants me to do, I will do it. And it's clearly working very, very well.
Yeah, because this is the term I use. They're kind of coddling him. They're making it really easy for him. Like you look at the game against us, right? They were afraid of the cover zero. So what were they doing? Consistently giving him 2 or 3 check down, outlet valves, short routes where if we were sending the house, he could just get the ball. Like they're being conscious of, okay, first of all, they have one of the best offensive lines in football. Their running game is no slouch, and that's because they consistently invest in the run game. Sony Michel, I know he was a gone first round pick. Damian Harris, 3rd round pick. Ramondre Stevenson, 3rd round pick. You know what I mean? People try to say we're following the Patriots way. I'm like, okay, where's the running back? I mean, I'm looking around. I'm like, where's the offensive line guru that they had coaching their offensive line? We don't have that. You know what I mean? So, and I just think they're doing a job of, it goes back to what we said earlier, by caring in terms of coddling, they are building Mac's confidence so much. And they got a guy. Because they don't need an athletic guy. That is a short to intermediate rhythmic passing offense. Then when you give us the opportunity, we will challenge you over the top, and then we'll go right back to our bread and butter. It's all about efficiency. It's what I say. Efficiency wins Super Bowls. It's not big, sexy 60-yard throws. It goes back to what you said earlier. That's what I've been trying to tell people that are just enamored with these big throws. And why isn't Tua giving? I said, listen, efficiency. You want to be efficient all game, and then you got to make 3, 4, 5 throws that challenge the defense, and you complete them, and that keeps the defense honoring your ability to test them over the top. That's efficiency. I don't want to come out 40-yard bomb, 20-yard bomb, 40-yard bomb. We're not trying to do that.
So doesn't Tua right now have the best completion percentage in the NFL?
Yeah, 69.9%. And he actually has the 2nd best completion percentage on throws beyond 20 yards, only behind Kyler Murray. The only thing is his attempts beyond 20 yards are like way lower than everyone else. You know what I mean? But it goes back to what you said. Like, people don't realize how much this offense is missing Will Fuller, and how much Will Fuller was a part of what they were scheming up to do. They were planning to test the top of defenses with Fuller, and then play with Waddle underneath that, and just kill you with speed, either over the top or in the intermediate to short level. And now you only got one guy that can do that, right?
Well, if I may about Mac Jones,
yeah, go ahead.
One thing that Mac Jones does really well, 2 things, I think. Part of why Belichick, I think, doesn't want an athletic quarterback, because he recognizes, like, hey, if I want someone to run the ball, I'm just going to have a bunch of running backs who are expendable. And they go through running backs like crazy in New England. And they're just like, all right, 2 years, next guy up. Like, they traded Sony Michel after 2 years. They're just happy to. They know the guys that are going to take the beating physically are going to be people that aren't going to stick around very long. And so I think Bill's like, we'll take a quarterback who can handle. If we want the ball in an athletic person's hands who's going to take a beating, I don't want that in my quarterback. I'll have my quarterback be a distributor to get those people the ball. Yeah. With Mac Jones, the most impressive thing he does sometimes is the throws he doesn't make, where Carson Wentz, God help him. I love the guy. He's incredibly talented, makes incredible plays. Him and Matthew Stafford, Carson Wentz and Matthew Stafford, cannot avoid like that boneheaded throw. I feel like every game there's a pick by Matthew Stafford that I'm like, what the heck are you doing? There's nothing there. It's triple coverage. Carson Wentz had a pick against the Patriots that handed the Patriots the ball late in the game and gave them a shot. He just threw the ball right at a linebacker who nothing's open there. Mac Jones, for whatever he's worth, doesn't do that. Mm-hmm. He really is good at, they coddle him, give him lots of checkdowns, but he's also finding the checkdowns, right? He's not forcing it into coverage. And that there's something to be said for that. When you can, sometimes the best thing you can do is not put the ball in harm's way, whether it's a throwaway or a check down. And you know how hard, you play the quarterback position, but it's hard to not there. Oh, I want that dig, but it's not there. Okay, my comeback's not open. Where's my check down? Working all the way through your progression and having the patience to not force it and just take the easy completion to your running back for a 4-yard gain. And that helps you. It sets up second and whatever, and you're good. And he does that consistently. And that deserves a lot of praise because it's hard. Everyone's like, oh, all they're doing is throwing checkdowns. You try throwing checkdowns in the NFL. Yeah. Because you don't want to throw checkdowns. No one does. But it's sometimes the best thing you should do. And he's really good at that.
Take what the defense gives you. It's always a safe safe bet. Are you a fan of Zach Wilson? You see a
Yeah, I'm
franchise guy
disappointed
in
by
him?
Zach Wilson. I know some people who knew him at BYU, and
Okay.
they love the guy, right? And of course, they love their guy at their college, but the stories I've heard about his love for watching film is amazing.
Hmm.
And I hope that honestly, I almost fear that did the NFL give Zach Wilson so many more opportunities off the field with financially and with distraction? Like, is he distracted? Like, what's going on? I don't think so, but I know that it's tempting when guys go to the NFL. You have money for the first time. You have all these opportunities. You live in New York. I mean, it would be hard. And that doesn't mean like when I say that, I don't mean he's going out and partying. It's like it could be 30 minutes a night. His attention is taken somewhere else. And those 30 minutes add up very quickly and they matter. And I'm really disappointed he hasn't developed as fast as I thought he would. I thought he was really NFL ready, actually. Part of that is what's around him is a mess. And I want them to get him more help, but also he's made some bad throws, some bad decisions. And I think that the biggest thing, you've only seen one game this year where Zach Wilson looked deserving of the second round or the number 2 overall pick. Against Tennessee, he was great. Other than that, I've been sitting at home going like, when are we going to see it? And now I'm patient. A lot of people in Jets world are, he's terrible. We got to give up and move on. I'm like, well, hey, he's a rookie on the Jets. Let's slow down like a lot. But I would be lying to you if I didn't say I was disappointed in some of his decision making, some of his lack of productivity, for lack of a better term. I thought he was going to pop a lot sooner, and I'm still waiting, and it's still not hopeless, but it has been a long year for a person like me who supports Zach Wilson and believes in him.
I was actually surprised we didn't force any serious turnovers off of him. I was actually shocked. That's the one thing that's disappointed me this year is we faced Mac, we faced Lawrence, and we faced Zach Wilson, and our lack of turnovers because we don't run our cover zero base against those rookies just based on circumstances. It kind of disappointed me because those games I walked in saying, okay, we need to make these kids make mistakes and feast off them. They're young kids. Like, you can give them looks they haven't seen yet and disguises they don't know what's coming at them.
How excited are you about your rookie defenders, Javon Holland and Jalen Phillips? Because oh my gosh, they're awesome.
So Javon Holland, I've been talking about him in this community for about 2 years. He was my safety one. I loved him at Oregon. I actually started watching him at Oregon because I started diving into the Herbert tape, right? But I also started watching Herbert live. Like I love Jaden Daniels. I know he's undersized, but I love Jaden Daniels, and I found him. Remember that game where Arizona State pulled it out against Oregon and Jaden Daniels was just out of his mind against Herbert? I was like, yo, this kid is legit.
He's really capable. Like, he can play at a high level.
He is. He just needs a bigger frame. That's all he needs, right? And apparently I had someone hit me up that went to high school with him, and apparently he's like such a humble, really nice kid, good upbringing. Apparently Jaden Daniels is like a phenomenal. Anyways, I digress. I watched Javon Holland. I loved him. I saw how they used him on the boundary, in the slot, in the box, single high. I was like, whoa, this guy, Jamal Adams, he can do everything out here, right? And I like he's put meat on his frame. And I didn't expect him to lay the lumber like how he's laying it at the professional level, but it's next up. And then Jalen Phillips, my edge, I do a big board. I take our top 5 biggest needs, and then I do a big board for each one. And I drop a video with like film in it for people to see these players, all 22 if they haven't seen them and stuff. And Jalen Phillips was my edge too. Now, the reason why he was my edge too, and I actually started my evaluation off on this, is it's because of his injury history. I didn't know Azeez Ojulari had a bad combine check. And Azeez Ojulari was my edge one. If I knew about Azeez Ojulari's bad combine check, and I even said in my evaluation, if they were both healthy or if they both had injury concerns, then Jalen would be my number 1 guy. But Azeez doesn't have that. If I would have known, then Jalen would. But when I dove into the combine numbers, it is scary how Jalen Phillips, if you look at his athletic profile, he's the 3rd Bosa brother. He's literally like on par with them in terms of productivity and combine numbers and athletic profile. He is a Bosa. Like, that's what's crazy about it. And I said this when we drafted him. I said, I think he can get on the tier of Chase Young. I think he's just under that tier. But hey, he's already beat Chase Young's rookie sack numbers right now. I think Jalen Phillips I think both of those guys are impact players right already as rookies, and I think in 2 to 3 years they're going to be game changers.
Talk
That's
about
all I
Jalen
think.
Phillips' ability to play the run. Has he been a really good edge defender?
Yeah, man, he sets the edge very well. But you know what's very surprising? Do you remember that game, Miami against Clemson last year,
Mhm.
where Lawrence took off and he chased him down like 18 yards and made the tackle? Yo, Zach Wilson, I gotta give it. Zach Wilson impressed me last weekend because he didn't turn the ball over. He didn't make bad mistakes, but the way he was using his legs against us was ridiculous. Anyways, Jalen Phillips almost hunted him down, but you go back to that Ravens game. His understanding of pursuit angles is ridiculous. Lamar rolled out and was running, and so you saw Jalen. You saw it, like you can see when players a light goes on, right? And Jalen's rolling out, and he starts taking an angle towards Lamar, but then the light goes off, and he widens out his angle back towards the sideline, and he meets Lamar right there and just shuts him down. And I was like, that is special. Like that, and his speed and his athleticism. It's like Jalen Phillips is a freak, man. He's a freak. He's a freak. I love that kid, man. I'm actually trying to get a Javon Holland white jersey because I love that 8. That 8 looks they call him the snowman, eh? At on the team because the 8 looks like a snowman. They call him a snowman. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of both of those guys. Love them coming out. And I gotta give Greer, Jaylen Waddle, Jalen Phillips, and Javon Holland, we won the draft. I don't know if anyone could tell me any differently.
Yeah, he basically got 3 first-round picks.
Yeah, exactly, right? What do you think about the Bills' division title win last year? Do you think they're one and done, and this is now again because of the return of the players from COVID to their defense and how they drafted and free agency? I mean, Belichick spent all that money in free agency. And he's one of the rare guys where it's working out for him. I mean, Matt Judon has found a completely new level in New England. Do you think it's once again we're back to the Patriots dominate the AFC East again?
Yeah, I do. The Bills' inability to build a defensive line has been really frustrating. Like
Yeah.
they're spending picks, they're trying so hard to build their defensive line, and it's been fine. It's not like I'm not saying they've been horrible, but it just hasn't turned to what they need, I think. And I worry they're about to lose their offensive coordinator, Brian Dable. I mean, there's going to be, I think, 6 openings in the NFL between, Vegas, Jacksonville, potentially Denver, maybe probably Minnesota, maybe New York. And then there's one other team I'm banking on right now that I think was probably going to move on from their coach as well. And so, so Denver, New York, Vegas, the Minnesota, Giants, and Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So 6.
Yeah.
And there's not enough coaches to fill 6 vacancies. So someone's going to come down to Brian Dable and say, dude, here's an offer you cannot refuse. Slam it down on the table. And I think they're going to lose that guy I think losing your offensive coordinator, the guy who really helped develop Josh Allen's a big deal. And I've been really disappointed is not the right word. Like Josh Allen's awesome and they're going to be really good for a while, but they definitely are not as good as I was hoping they would be this year. And I did a topic like the 9 most disappointing teams in the NFL this year the other day. And a lot of people are like, what about the Bills? And I don't know that calling them a disappointment is right because I didn't expect them to. I thought there were 3 playoff teams in that division, the AFC East. I thought Miami, New England, and Buffalo were all going to make the playoffs. And we still might see that, which is kind of a crazy thought.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's totally unrealistic to be like, well, the Patriots are going to win the division. It's not that crazy of a thought. And Buffalo has lost a couple of games that I thought they should have. And it's been disappointing. So a long answer, maybe the short answer is that New England is going to win the division, I think, this year. I think they are a better team this year.
Mm-hmm.
And what's sad is that I think they're going to lose some key pieces, especially their offensive coordinator that really helped them get there. And we're going to learn a lot. I think the Patriots play Buffalo this Sunday. And they're not going to have Cole Beasley. And I unfortunately think that the Patriots are going to win again. And then we're going to go, oh, man, Buffalo, how far they've fallen.
You want to hear something crazy?
Yeah.
If the Dolphins win out and Buffalo wins this weekend, we have a 98% chance of making the playoffs. If we win out and the Patriots win this weekend, we have like a 52% chance.
Damn.
So we need Buffalo to pull this out. I needed to go.
Go Bills.
Yo, because I'm telling you, Tua gonna mess around, get in the playoffs, and he's gonna win a playoff game, and he's gonna say, "What now?" Because you know what I said? I was like, you know what I love about that Atlanta game? You know what I love about that Atlanta game? He threw 2 picks, but he threw 4 touchdowns, threw for over 290 yards. And people don't realize that was the 12th best passing defense in the NFL when he did that to them. He dropped them down to 19 after that game. Anyways, what I loved about it is he made mistakes because the trade deadline hadn't happened yet, right? And if you go look at Tua's face on the sideline after that second pick, Tua looked like deer in headlights. Oh crap! I just played my way out of Miami.
They're gonna trade me. I'm gonna have to sell my house,
dude. Because I live react to every game on Sunday, right? So I got to be up in front of people. So I'm thinking to myself, I didn't say it publicly, but I'm thinking to myself like, oh, the look on his face, this isn't good. The confidence is gone. And then I saw him respond in the fourth quarter the way he did. And you know what that man did? That man came back and said, you know what? I made a mistake. He went and got that lead. And he said, here, Brian, you're the defensive genius. You're the defensive coach. Here's your lead. Go stop them. And for the second week in a row, we gave up a game-winning field goal in the last few minutes. You want to hear something crazy? Tua started 19 games in the NFL. 15 of those games, the last time he touched the ball and left the field was with the lead.
That's crazy.
And he only has 12 wins, so 3 of them we've obviously lost on him, right? But
man,
that's pretty good. And you talk about that AFC playoff picture is crazy right now. I'm
curious, man. If Tua leaves Miami, are you still a Tua fan? Are you
110%?
So how does that? So you wouldn't have to pick. I'm going to follow both and support both.
Yep. So I was I'm a diehard Dolphins fan, obviously, but I was an Eagles fan. My second team was the Eagles because I loved Donovan McNabb coming out of Syracuse, and when they drafted him, I was like, I just loved Donovan McNabb, man. I don't know, man. I just loved his ability. I thought he was just such a good passer, and I know he didn't win a Super Bowl in Philadelphia, but it was Marino. I'm not saying he's Marino, but it was the Marino effect where you always thought every year with the Eagles, they had a chance to win with Donovan McNabb, right? And I was just a huge Donovan McNabb guy. So I disowned them when they made their coaching decision. I wanted Bieniemy, and I didn't and when they hired the Sirianni, whatever his name is, and it came out that all these other coaches turned it down because basically they were told in the interview process that we're going to be running the team. You're just basically, a placeholder. You know what I mean? We want a yes man. I was kind of out on them in that, and I'm not a huge Jalen Hurts guy. So I was like, you know what? Disown them. So I don't have a second team to watch because I like having an NFC as a second team because Miami always plays at 1. We're done by 4. The NFC games usually happen at 4:00, 4:25, and then you can watch a team. So yeah, wherever he goes, I will root for him until he meets us. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I just love Tua, man. I think he's like you. I think he's a great person. I love his family values. I love his family. And honestly, I know it's cliche. I know it's some mythical term. Michael Jordan had it. Tim Tebow had it. He just wasn't as talented as other guys, et cetera, et cetera. Tua has that winner's DNA. I truly believe Tua is going to win a Super Bowl in the NFL. Tua wins games he shouldn't win. And, you go look at Sunday. He had his worst performance of his professional career. But, dude, that DVP corner throw, not many guys in the NFL got that kind of touch, all right? That dart to Isaiah Ford that Mosley tried to reach out. Then that touch throw to Isaiah Ford that he made in 2.2 seconds on the deep shot. That third down throw to Gesicki. Even in a bad game where Tua is having his worst performance of his career, he has 4 throws where you're like, good God, what am I watching right now? He has the it factor. He has winner. He's gonna win. I think Herbert is very, very good. Okay. in my scouting report of him coming out, and I'll admit it, I went Tua, Burrow, Jordan Love, and then Herbert. And the reason why I wasn't a big fan of Herbert was I saw way too many things. Like, I know you when he would take the snap out of the shotgun. You remember you used to do that little flip thing with the football?
Yeah.
I was like, what is this guy doing? Like, he would get caught flat-footed all the time. His mechanics were never lined up. But I did say in my report, when his mechanics are lined up, Herbert makes throws that are sights to behold. You know what I mean? And that's where I was kind of with Herbert compared
Herbert
to
would miss
Stewart.
easy throws
Yeah.
constantly. You're
You know
like,
what I mean?
how do you miss a 5-yard hitch like 4 times in one game? Like, what's happening? And then you make that throw, like they're like a 62-yard rope, and you're like,
Yeah.
we can't hit the 5-yard hitch. What's
Yeah.
happening here?
I think, you know what I think is going to happen? Dolphin fans are going to get what they want. Herbert's going to be Marino-esque. Marino didn't win, though. Marino got all the numbers, got all the stats, but when he ran into Jim Kelly and a Buffalo team that was built for the playoffs, it wasn't Jim Kelly that beat the Miami Dolphins. It was Thurman Thomas. You know what I mean? When you run into teams that are built for the postseason, it's different than being a team that's built just to rack up and pad stats. You know, I mean, and let's be honest, Herbert inherited a team that Phillip Rivers almost threw for 5,000 yards with in his last season there, and Rivers had a noodle arm at that point. You know what I mean? It was gone on him, and I just think Herbert's going to be one of those stats guys. And I think Burrow and Tua have a better chance long term at winning a Super Bowl because I think what they do better than Herbert, first of all, they have better touch than Herbert. Herbert's still, he's still throwing fastballs and he's got to get away from that a little bit. But I think what they have that he doesn't quite have yet is efficiency. Like I think he's done it twice in his career already against Denver. I still see Herbert throwing a game-sealing interception in the end zone or around the end zone. I don't see Tua doesn't do that. And I haven't seen Burrow really do that a lot too, right? I think efficiency, I'm a big believer that efficiency and then making 4 or 5 throws in the game will win you a Super Bowl as opposed to just pad and stats. So, yeah, I think
hopeful.
Herbert's going to be special, though.
I'd love to see Herbert win a Super Bowl. That'd be cool. It'd be
I
fun.
think the Chargers need one. Like that franchise needs a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Because
I also love Brandon Staley, their coach. He's awesome.
I think he's awesome. I loved what he said about the physicality of the run game. Like one of the
going
best.
for it on 4th down.
Yeah,
like he's really aggressive in it. He won't back down from that, which I love.
But like, look at the great quarterbacks they've had come through there. Dan Fouts couldn't win one. Phillip Rivers couldn't win one. Drew Brees couldn't. Drew Brees was doing good, and we all know that was Schottenheimer and the GM. But, how do you see this playoff picture playing out? Like, do you think you don't see us winning out? Do you?
I hope so. I don't know though. What's weird about this year, a lot of people keep like asking me to make predictions and like I want you to tell me who's going to win. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how anybody could know. I think that New England wins a division. I think New England has. This is very controversial. I'm aware of that. I think New England's probably the only team in the AFC that can win the Super Bowl.
Ooh.
I think that the NFC is so much stronger everywhere, and I look at Green Bay, Tampa, LA, Arizona. There's so many good teams in the NFC. It's probably going to be an NFC team that wins the Super Bowl. The Colts could on a good day, and so could New England. Everyone else, I like Kansas City's powerful. You have too many problems, though, in my opinion. And other than what I just said, I have no idea. And that's kind of the fun of it is like we could see Philadelphia make the playoffs. We could see Miami. We could see, Cleveland, if they'd won on Sunday, would have been 8-6 and the number 4 seed in the AFC and number 1 in the AFC North. By losing, they dropped all the way down to 12th. It's so close and so tight. I have no idea what's going to happen. And instead of trying to make predictions and understand it, I'm just going to enjoy it because it's chaos and it's fun and it's good storytelling. And it's like, look, man, I couldn't predict. I don't know how anyone could predict what's going to happen, but that's the fun of it, right? Is that it's madness and that's awesome.
Man, you mentioned the team. My three favorite players in the NFL right now are Tua. I've been always been a huge Aaron Rodgers fan, and the guy that I wanted just as badly as Tua coming out, I love Kyler Murray. I think that guy is so freaking special. It's unreal. Like that man flicks his wrist and that ball goes 60 yards. It's like stupid.
I remember
Um,
when he was in college and I called him the best quarterback in the draft, and people laughed at
oh,
me.
he was hands down.
I
Yes.
was like, "Are you guys on drugs? How is he
Yeah,
not? He's amazing."
he's so
But I
special,
think
man.
people that don't play quarterback don't get it. They look at the measurables and not what he can do on film.
Oh, he's
He made
like
a throw against West Virginia where he was like on the 35-yard line through the back corner of the end zone, and it was just like it was like a Herbert level throw where you're like it's just on a rope, and it was just he read it late. He threw it before the safety could make a move, and you're like, that's just an amazing throw. The back line of the end zone from the 35-yard line, just on a line. And I'm like, I couldn't make that throw. I don't have the arm strength to make that throw. That's
yeah.
amazing. And
He's
people just don't appreciate what he does, I think, enough.
I
Still,
love
somehow.
Kyler. Honestly, that's another team. I'd love to see the Arizona Cardinals win a Super Bowl, man. I remember watching
Yeah.
them when they lost with Kurt Warner to Big Ben.
Someone new would be cool, just in
Yeah,
general.
you know, I'm tired of the Patriots.
And
It's
Tom
been
Brady
enough.
again.
Yeah,
What
exactly.
if we get Tom Brady against the Patriots in the Super Bowl? It'd be like, come on. I love both sides. I love the Patriots and respect them. I love Tom Brady, respect Tom Brady. I am so ready for someone else to be in the
I got to
Super
root for
Bowl.
Tampa though in that scenario. I'm sorry. I got a question for you. Do you think the NFL is starting to catch on to Mahomes and Lamar?
No.
You don't,
No,
eh?
short answer is no. I think Lamar is trying to expand his game. I mean, I really think Lamar is trying to um, do more that he doesn't want to be just a running quarterback forever. I think he's realizing like, hey, that's not entirely sustainable. And I think I like they've drafted Rashad Bateman. They're trying to expand their passing game. And what comes along with that is growing pains. And that just happens. When you're trying to do something new, you have to learn how to do that. And he's, I think, throwing more than ever, taking more risks and trying different stuff. And the idea that the NFL has figured out Lamar is kind of funny. Like I don't even know what that means. I'm like, how? What do you mean? Like you're gonna game plan a certain way to stop him? Like, oh,
Like,
just try.
yeah, that's what I mean. So, like, you look at, you remember, was it against the Patriots a couple years ago when they put 6 DB no, the Chargers. Remember when the Chargers beat them and they put 6 DBs out on the field? And then you go look at the Dolphins, right? We run a lot of that Ruby defense with the 6 DBs out there. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I was wondering if
What
you
I would say
went.
though is that have we figured out Tom Brady too then? Because the blueprint to beat Tom Brady is very clear. It's you need pressure with 4 defensive linemen and drop 7. If you
Yeah,
can drop 7 into coverage and get pressure on Tom Brady and make him uncomfortable, the defensive line, which is what the Saints just did. And we've seen that template used over and over again throughout the years. If a team can do that, the Giants did it. I watched who did it a couple years ago. There's some team that like I didn't expect to do it a couple years ago. The Saints did it. Like there's a blueprint to beat Tom Brady. And there might be like a blueprint that someone's used to beat Lamar Jackson. But the other thing is, and like I thought Miami had an amazing game against Lamar,
mhm,
but you adjust and come back with new stuff. That's the beauty of football. I don't think anyone really ever like figures someone out because it's not like a gameplay mechanic in a video game where you're like, oh, this is a loop. And if I do these, like I played Zelda as a kid and you figure out the boss, what's the boss's rhythm, and then you find a way to beat the boss. Lamar Jackson isn't a computerized like thing that just does one set of things. Like he can adapt and adjust. And
yep,
with good coaching, they go, okay, they're playing cover zero. We got to plan for cover zero this week.
yeah.
So I just don't think you can figure someone out as talented as Lamar. And I just think that's kind of, I don't agree with that, or that's kind of wrong to me. And then with Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes is just getting in his own way. And I don't know if it's the stress of realizing, hey, my team isn't as good. And he early on was really forcing throws into coverage and doing crazy stuff. And I know he's got, I would imagine, you look at the memes, but like his brother and his wife seem really like, I would hate to deal with that off the field. I'd be like, I'm
Yeah,
done. Like
yeah,
the minute you interrupt my career, you're out.
yeah.
And so I don't know what's going on with Patrick Mahomes that way, but I know that as the defense has gotten better, so has Patrick, and they're winning more games. And I think that Mahomes is just going through some problems with how he viewed himself and how he viewed what he needed to do in his role to help his team. When you feel like you have to be everything
Yeah.
and you feel like you have to be, I've been in that guy where you're like, if I don't deliver everything, we're not going to win. And then you end up playing worse because you just have this complex. You feel like you need to be a superhero and it doesn't work as a quarterback. And
Yeah.
so I think Mahomes has gone through a lot of that, but all Mahomes stuff it was him beating himself, not the defense beating him. So
Yeah.
even more so than I feel about Lamar Jackson, the NFL definitely hasn't figured out Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes just has to play disciplined football.
Yeah. Speaking of Lamar, and do you see the Pro Bowl now is kind of just a popularity contest and not quite the accolade that an all pro is? Because Lamar made the team over Josh Allen, and Josh
Yeah.
Allen has had a better year.
The Pro Bowl's never been, I think for a while, it's been kind of it's a popularity contest and it's fun and I don't value like all Pro Bowl, and none of it. I don't know. I think the best way to like really figure out and gauge how good a player is to figure out what other players view. I would love to see the NFL just say, hey, only players are voting in the Pro Bowl voting this year. And that'd be like if it was just a closed system for only players and coaches, that would be awesome. And we're not going to get that, but that's actually I want to see how the NFL values who is a key player like Deontay Johnson in Pittsburgh.
Didn't make
I thought
it.
had a great year. AJ Terrell in Atlanta, I thought had a Pro Bowl year. Didn't make it in.
Austin Eckler.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Come on. Like what?
Yeah.
I think if you had the NFL voting, like only the Players Association, the coaches voting on who gets in, you would see Austin Eckler and you would see AJ Terrell in because players respect it a lot more than I hate fantasy football. I think it's ruining football in a lot of ways in the way we view football and value certain things. And I think fans vote based on fantasy football rather than based on what the film says. And the film said Tom Brady was a great quarterback even when his stats were terrible in New England. And the stats and the numbers of fantasy football crap said Tom Brady had fallen off a cliff. When in reality, if you watch film, you're like, oh, he's got no help. He's got no deep threat. They're terrible. They have no help at receiver. And then he went to Tampa and won a Super Bowl. I'm like, see, I told everyone, like, the film is more powerful than what numbers can sometimes show. And in baseball, dude, numbers matter. You have a massive sample size. You really can like deduce a player down to their numbers. In football, you just can't.
Yeah, I
agree. I've always thought the Pro Bowl is kind of a joke, and this year has been especially like, come on.
It's honestly funny you brought that Brady situation up in his last year because this is what I was telling people last year when Tua went 7-3. I was telling people, I'm like, look around Tua right now. This is the same reason why Tom Brady took his bags and went to Tampa Bay. He said, you're not going to give me any receivers. You're not going to give me offensive line. You're not going to give me a good running game. See you later. The problem is Tua's on a rookie contract. He can't say, see you later. But look at what you see when Tom Brady goes and he got a lot more than a little help. You know
Imagine
what I mean?
Tua in Dallas right now with three stud receivers, a great offensive line, a good running game. A defense is playing well. Like, come on. Let's give him a shot with some help before we and then people say, well, if he needs help, he's not a good quarterback. Again, I said it earlier in the show. Yeah. Every quarterback, people were telling me that Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to win without a first round receiver. If even Aaron Rodgers needs help, then God forbid Tua certainly does. So it just drives me nuts. Like the weird. I think the reality is people love to tear people down. I don't know why. I think it might be people feel really sad about themselves and having a hard time. And I for some reason, people love to tear down other human beings. I don't get it. Doesn't make sense to me. And I look into it and I'm like, he just needs help.
Agreed. A couple questions here left. Going back to Tua and Burrow and Herbert, plus potentially Love. Do you think that draft class, quarterback wise, has the potential to be a very special draft class when it's all said and done?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're awesome. I think that this past one is also great. I'm interested to see. I mean, it'll be a while. We got to see where guys fall, but it was a great draft class for sure.
Yeah. Who do you like coming out this year in the draft? Because I'm a huge Sam Howell guy. I have been for a couple of years. Who are some of the quarterbacks you like coming out in this class? Are you a big fan of Kenny Pickett?
Yeah, I like Kenny Pickett. I like Matt Corral. I like Sam Howell. I think the guy that is the most impressive to me is Malik Willis. He's amazing. And the kid out of Liberty, just, oh my gosh, like what he's done with the personnel around him. Like we just talked about how quarterbacks need help.
Yeah.
He didn't have a lot of help at Liberty and he dominated and it is incredible. And I think he's the guy, he's the Justin Herbert of this draft class where you're like, dude, you got to take a hard look to pass on his talent level. He's a great dude. People speak really highly of him off the field and his work ethic. And then the ability. So it goes back to, would you rather have a quarterback like Tua or Justin Herbert? I want a guy who, sorry to Tua, but I want a guy who can reverse field and launch it 62 yards into a tiny window and throw a touchdown like that. I want that. And as a coach, the more capable your quarterback is, the more play calls you can make, the more versatile your offense can be. Malik Willis is the best quarterback in the draft class, in my opinion,
Wow,
by a lot.
bold.
And
Wow.
I don't really. I'm excited to do a film analysis to show people why, because he does some incredible stuff and won a lot with not a lot of help around him at Liberty.
Because I view him as one of the rawest quarterback prospects in this draft.
But you can be raw. So is Herbert. So is Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Who's the best quarterback out of the 2018 draft class? Probably Josh Allen.
Yeah, I agree.
Or Lamar, but Lamar was, it's Lamar. Like, you know what I mean? At some point, you have to go, what are they capable of? Because if I'm a coach, I'm confident.
Yeah.
Sean McVay knows he turned Jared Goff into a winning quarterback. Like, you can, if I'm a coach, I'm like, hey, I can turn this guy into a good quarterback. And I think for years, I was a really short, weak-armed quarterback. And I always would try to find the guys like Gardner Minshew and go, they're good, and try to show people why they're good. But also, I have to recognize, like, hey, talent is talent. Yeah. And the habits, the accuracy, the ability, he's got to play. I can't remember who they're playing. Liberty, where Malik Willis is running the sideline. He's along the sideline. He launches it like 80 yards, literally, probably 70, into this tiny window between two defenders along the sideline. And you're like, that's not a throw any other quarterback in the draft can even make, let alone, it's just, he does special stuff that if I'm an NFL coach, I'm like, that's the guy I want really bad. If I'm Washington, I'm drafting him. I got Taylor Heineke who can play if he's not ready week 1. And I'm drafting Malik Willis if I'm Washington. I think he's amazing.
I like it, because there's another good small school quarterback, but he decided to go back. I like Grayson McCall out of Coastal Carolina too, but he decided to go back for another year. I thought that kid was pretty good too.
He's okay. He's solid. I think he needs more time. I'm glad he's going back.
So, any final thoughts? Anything you want to plug here before we get out of here, Zach?
No, man. I'm really hungry. It's funny. It's 8. It's for you. It's what, 2 o'clock? 1 o'clock?
It's 1:34 p.m. right now.
8:34 here. I'm hungry. I haven't eaten breakfast yet. I got up at 5. I'm like, let's go. No, man. Find my stuff. Strong Opinion Sports. That's all it is. I don't really do a lot of social media. I just make content I love, and I just appreciate you having me on. I'm very grateful.
It was awesome having you on, and man, especially after you start doing your film studies and stuff, hopefully we can link up again and have you back on during the draft season, man. It was honestly such a pleasure just to talk ball with you, especially as someone who just started watching you from afar. I mean, when I subscribed to you, I think you had in and around like 10,000 subscribers when I subscribed to you. So seeing your growth, but seeing it happen to such a nice and humble guy, it's awesome. You know what I mean? So, man, all I can say to you is I wish you continued success, dude. I think you do a phenomenal job. And you're really user friendly. You can not only give the whole episode, you clip up portions of the show to make it easier. So I think you do a really good job, and everyone needs to check you out on YouTube and all major streaming platforms. Again, Strong Opinion Sports. All I could say is, thanks so much for doing this, man. It was honestly such a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I'll do a Tua film analysis, hopefully like in March, and I'll send it to you. It'll be fun. I'm excited for you to listen to that.
I can't wait, man. Guys, this is coming out to you guys on Christmas Eve. So everyone, I hope you get everything you want under the tree. I hope your holidays are merry and festive. I hope everyone around you is happy, healthy, safe, and blessed. And as usual, guys, you know what time it is. Fins up all day, every day. And once again, thanks to Zac Shomler, Strong Opinion Sports, for joining us. And I'll see you guys on Monday night for prime time Tua, baby. We'll see you then.